Welcome, everyone. My name is Dave Lowe. I'm the Director of Government Solutions here with Dynamic Computer Corporation, and we have with us Farida Ali, who is the President and CEO of our great company. However, she is not feeling well and is at home, so we know how that is, so we feel for her. So we'll probably keep the technical components for another time. We can certainly do that. But we welcome you today. Glad to see so many folks here, so many folks that I know, as a matter of fact. So that's great. Just a little overview about Dynamic Computer Corporation. We started this in 1979. Most of our interaction with the federal space has been through General Dynamics and Raytheon and Northrop, but we are doing also direct work now with the federal government, and which is great, and we certainly appreciate that. And our goal is really to be focused on the solutions that you need. Some of the components that most of you who know us, we started in the equipment world in supplying equipment and kind of pulling all those things together and simplifying the procurement components. But the most important thing about us is that we're vendor agnostic. We don't really care about the vendor side of things. We want to be able to develop solutions that make the most sense for you. A lot of folks that start with us because we have kind of made our name as the go-to resource for all oddball stuff and weirdware. So if you have something like that on your desk, please feel free to contact us and let us know if there's any way that we can help you. It's a great way for you to be able to experience why we have a 98% repeat business and why there's so many folks that really enjoy what we do. The objective of this webinar is to really help the procurement folks. I know we have some folks from the program side and the project management side, but this is really dedicated more towards the procurement folks so that they can get an idea what this cloud and virtualization thing is, and we can dialogue a little bit on the best practices and how they can be in line with the initiatives that are being driven down and falling on their heads, as a matter of fact. So we'll give you an idea what to look for, some of the pros and cons, try to keep you guys out of hot water a little bit, and we'll certainly review our stuff and how you can do business with us if you'd like to, and then supply links to resources, including this presentation itself. Just a little bit of housekeeping here. If you get into your control panel on the right-hand side, you'll see that you can expand that. And just please make sure, if you have any questions or anything, we could do this throughout the course of this presentation, and we'll make sure that we'll get to you and do the best we can to be able to answer your questions. And anything that we can't get to, we'll be glad to follow up with you outside of this as best we can as well. If you would like to have dialogue and talk with us, you need to enter your audio pin, and that's not 36. That was one of my old ones. But if you take a look on that bottom side, if you can enter your audio pin, then we'll be able to unmute you. What we're going to be reviewing is the Cloud First initiative. This whole thing started out really with Jeffrey Zients, who really aggressively got reinforced by Vivek Kundra for a vision for cloud and virtualization, which led to the shared services strategy for 2012. All of this, GSA really grabbed a hold of. It went to NIST and got the NIST standards for what was necessary to be able to protect a cloud environment, and also reached out to industry and did a great job of being able to assemble this and to form the baseline for the requirements for cloud computing. And that was actually released last January, was when they were starting to go out to find the folks that can help secure this environment. And you may know this as FedRAMP, Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program. And FedRAMP's first step was to identify the folks that could provide a third-party authorization, or 3PAO. These are kind of folks looking over, making sure all the boxes are checked. And that'll give agencies the initial authority to operate. It's not a permanent, but it's the initial one to get it up and running and get you going. That's also called an ATO, in case you're not familiar with that term. And then other components that you're likely to hear revolve around mobility, or bring your own device. BYOD is something that's out there that's certainly gaining a lot of momentum here. Cloud terms like PaaS, or Platform as a Service, or IaaS, which Infrastructure as a Service, and SaaS, or Software as a Service, these are all virtual environment terms that apply directly to cloud computing models and based on your agency needs and how you want to roll these out. And the overall objective of Cloud First is to provide this shared environment model so that that results in cost savings. Everything's being driven by both reliability and cost savings, but certainly from the side of procurement being able to to pull that in and rein in some of these expenses from IT. One really great part about cloud computing is that it can directly apply to your agency's green initiatives. And now everybody's got different baselines for their own initiatives, but make sure you get with your environmental folks so that you can tie this in and get credit for that. We want everybody to get every ounce of green credit that they can get, and moving forward aggressively with the cloud is one way to do that. So another component that we'll be talking about here is FDCCI, which is the Federal Data Center Consolidation Initiative. And the whole objective here is to increase the virtualization of distributed systems so that you can start to operate in virtual environments. And this improves the efficiency. It's going to improve the efficiency both of the environment that goes to virtualization or cloud, and also improve the efficiency of the remaining data centers, a much better way of being able to operate. As far as the goals that are being set by OPM, see, these are really aggressive goals, and improve the power usage by 20%, and decrease the total IT energy by 60%, and then finally the number of physical servers by 80%. So you can see there's a really aggressive posture here being driven down to each agency to consolidate those data centers where they can and how they can. So what is virtualization? Virtualization, what it means to your agency and the virtualization benefits, and we'll give you some examples as well on what these things look like. Now, virtualization itself is a technology where it really looks like you're running it from your own PC. You really can't tell whether or not it's running locally on your machine, but it's actually running on another place, someplace virtually, in a rack someplace, and each virtual device is self-contained and protected from the other virtual devices. So while there may be several devices being run by that same machine, they don't see each other, and you can't see their stuff and they can't see yours. And each virtual device appears as if it's the same as what you're running today. And we'll give you some examples of that. In fact, you'll see some of this where you can virtualize your hardware configurations. You can virtualize your desktop, the software that you're running. Most of us are familiar with Windows, and we're familiar with Microsoft Office, and being able to access that virtually and have it look just like it does if it was running off your machine. Other components that you could do, though, is memory, the actual physical memory, as well as the storage of all your files. These can be filed someplace else, and there's a whole lot of reasons for this being a great thing. And also the data, the virtualization of your data and your network, so that you have access to these multiple places. And to give you an idea of what this looks like, let's say, for instance, you're working from your computer and your computer goes down, but you still need access to your primary files so that you can get your work done. Well, the beautiful thing about virtualization is you can actually be at home in her PJs. It enables her access to be able to get to her files and be able to run what she needs to do so that she's not shut down, and it can be from any device as long as it's authorized. And it looks and acts like your PC from your operation, and it gives you access to your remote storage. You don't have to worry about running out of hard drive space, and it's safe and secure because only you have access to that. And again, that's not Farida. Right, Farida? I'm in big trouble. Anyway, the virtualization, some of the benefits for virtualization is you'll see it does reduce the physical footprint, and it consolidates those devices and the resources that are necessary to run those devices, because you have IT personnel that are responsible for doing these things, and now you can maximize their usage, and they can monitor remotely. They can see things. It's an excellent way to be able to minimize the need for those resources because it is centrally managed and helps save power and money. So how does virtualization apply to what's happening with a cloud environment? Well, virtualization is the foundation for cloud computing. It provides for the scalability and the security so that you can run a platform or you can run your software in that environment. As far as what cloud is, because it's hard to get your hands around what cloud is because it's kind of out there, and some of the benefits and some of the industry examples that we all know. Farida, are you well enough to be able to talk for just a second without hacking up alone?
I can do that, Dave.
All right.
There's basically three different types of clouds that are out there right now. One is the public cloud, and that you can think of as an Amazon or a Google, where they own the cloud infrastructure, the software and the hardware that all all of the cloud applications are running on. Then there's a private cloud where a private organization hosts their own cloud. They have their own infrastructure, their own software. So even though they're delivering cloud services to their end users, they're securing that hardware and software internally. And then there's a hybrid cloud that people sometimes use, and that's to basically take the overflow of a private cloud. So if someone has a private cloud and all of a sudden they have a spike in usage for a special event or a big project they're working on, they'll go out to a public cloud like Amazon and basically rent space for that period of time and then shut it down again and just use their private. So those are kind of examples of the different kinds of clouds that are out there right now.
Excellent. That's good to know. And as you can think about your environment, it just depends on what your requirements are as to what type of cloud that you need. And that's really what we would like to help you out with, to be able to help you figure those things out. But some of the characteristics that you'll find about cloud computing and why there's such a drive to get to this level is because it's an on-demand service. It's self-serviceable, which means you can set it up without really any assistance at all. And it kind of just drives you right down. You can set up servers. You can set up components within those servers and save images and all the components that are necessary for that. And all that's required is standard internet connectivity. It's kind of like what we're doing right now. We have standard internet connectivity, and we're logging in, and we're conducting this meeting virtually. And this is a great example of that. It's scalable. We can increase and decrease capacity as needed, and this provides for, and because it's a pay for what you use, it provides for being even additional cost savings. Some of the examples, and Farida mentioned one before, but Amazon.com as a functional ordering mechanism is an interface with a cloud system. It enables you to go in, order things, and pull things from it. Now, you have limited access to that cloud system, but you can post your things, you can sell there, and you can conduct business there, and you can buy from folks that are there. Another place is online banking. These are both familiar places for us where we have access to our files, but they're not resident on our computer. And also, because of that, we don't have the security risk. So all you need is the connectivity. You don't have to update. All the updates are handled for you, and any device is supported. Some of the pros and cons that you'll find out there, first of all, from a procurement side and from the IT side, is you have a lot of political traction. For years, the CIO Council has kind of been driving this, and it just started to get traction a couple of years ago to the point where to be something that could be considered. Some of the things around that revolve around their centralized security. Somebody has the ability to be able to really manage all the security updates, all the components that are necessary in order to be able to keep that cloud up and secure. One of the biggest things is being able to collaborate back and forth between co-workers and different people, even inside and outside, to be able to have that as a collaboration forum where you can post things, and it doesn't have to be emailed all the time, and it doesn't matter about the file size because it's all going to be handled virtually and accessed virtually. And all you need is the connectivity, as we mentioned before. So many of the agencies right now, and you know this if you're in procurement or you're in IT, is that you have a ton of licenses, and it's very difficult to find whether those licenses are being used or whether you're just paying for something that's not even being used. And then we all have the problem with updates and whether or not it's going to be the person at the PC that does the updates. All this is handled for you by the provider. Again, the bring your own device, it doesn't really matter what the interface is, so being able to be supported by any device as long as it's approved. But the most important thing that everybody's talking about are the savings. Now, some of the cons, and here's where we start to take a look at how to set this up so that you can help to cover yourself. One is you're now dependent on a vendor of some sort. If it's not going to be your equipment, and if it's your equipment, then the folks that are responsible for that are responsible for the service level and access. If you don't have connectivity, you can't get service. If you're running it from a cell network and you don't have cell network or you don't have wireless, you can't get service. Or if your internet goes down, and there's some concerns about that of working from home and only having one path through Verizon or Comcast or wherever you guys are from the cable provider. While it's a pro on one side, the security component is a big concern on the other side. Is that who is going to be managing that security functionality? Where is the data being stored, and what are the implications of privacy data, whether it's personal identifiable information, or PII, or PHI, depending on your agency. You could have health type of information, which is very, very sensitive. where is this data going and where is it going to be stored and who has access to it. And one of the biggest things for every agency to know is you can't outsource the risk. You can outsource all the rest of the pieces, but you got to make sure that you understand where your risks are and be able to manage those risks so that you can cover yourself. The biggest way to stay out of hot water is don't rush into this and just blindly follow anybody. Make sure you're doing your due diligence on who you're going after and who you're going to be servicing with. Follow the FedRAMP guidelines. Again, the FedRAMP guidelines are not everything that you need to be able to fly a cloud. It's the baseline. There's going to be additional components and additional things that you're going to have to add to that in order to be able to effectively fly that cloud and have it secure. Verify all your vendors' claims and make sure your SLAs, your service level agreements, have teeth, that there's pieces in there that says, hey, you guys have got to step up and make sure that you can deliver on this. A key component, we were just talking about this with CMS best practices last week, and that is to engage your security team early. So to folks in security, you're not just running down this path saying, okay, we're gonna put this application up without really getting your security team involved. And I know a lot of times they'll drive you nuts, but really just making sure that they're aware and it's more of a parallel course as opposed to trying to secure something after it's up there, because once it's out there, it's really hard to reel that stuff back in. We always recommend a budget for additional testing above and beyond your 3 PAOs that are out there. Make sure that you are budgeting for additional testing, protect your data, and protect your agency, and you will find yourself in a place where your cloud environment will work very, very well. As far as dynamic is concerned, we are not, there's one of the questions, are we a 3 PAO? We are not a 3 PAO. We provide services for the agencies to be able to identify those security components and help them through their process of learning. And I'll get to you in a second, Ken. I see your question. One of the components in this, we'll just talk about a little bit about how you can procure from us. You saw we are GSA schedule. We got our GSA schedule, so we're doing business directly with the government. The biggest thing with us, we're vendor agnostic. We help to maximize your cost savings. That's our job. Our job is to help you maximize whatever you're trying to do. Ultimately, getting to a place, because we're very process-oriented, and improving your entire process flow. And if I can just be selfish for 1 second and talk about why it's important and why ISO matters. ISO certification is not an easy thing to get, and I know Farida can talk about this if she needs to, but I'm telling you, it's not easy to get, and having qualified organizations that have gone through this process can help you identify your process gaps and improve your process flow. And this includes all the steps that are involved in virtualization and cloud as well. We worked really hard to get this certification, and we really highly recommend that if you're looking at someone to help you with this type of process, that you look out for somebody that's ISO certified. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll open this up for questions. Let's see. Let me see what Ken has to say. 1 second here. Another problem is transitioning to the cloud environment. Absolutely. If you're looking to transition to the cloud, identifying all the steps and procedures to be able to get there. It depends what you're trying to do. That's why everybody's applications, all the applications that you're running now, even if you think about if you're going to put your procurement mechanisms and the way that you operate in the cloud, what are all the features and functionality, and what are the security components that are required to do that for that? And Farida, can you talk about email as a service?
Sure. So if you wanted to have your email hosted in the cloud and you wanted to not have to worry about the Exchange servers, it's an easy thing to do. I mean, Microsoft has a product out there, and there are other ones as well. And I guess I would want, are you concerned about the transitioning of it? It would be transparent to your end users. It would just be a matter of basically moving those servers off your site and putting them with a service provider and an email provider in the cloud.
So, they said they had issues with email as a service, being able to transition to that. And
well, what kind of issues?
Hang on 1 sec. Let me see if we can get Ken up here. Ken, you there? Ken? I'm not sure if Ken put in his audio pin. So I can't get him up. So I don't know exactly. Oh, he's there. What issues did you have, Ken? He's typing.
Okay.
Hang on one sec. We'll see if we can get him. Don't have the audio pen. Yes, you're typing. Laugh out loud. Okay. What issues did you have, Ken? And I'll see if I can translate that into a question. In the meantime, one of the other questions is this going to be available for, are we going to make the presentation available? Yes, we will. In fact, we're going to make the presentation available along with all the other references that we've done. And the issue was missing email, which, are you saying that email was not coming in when it should have come in, Ken? Some corrupt email. We would have to take a look at that as an environment, but we'll be glad to do that for you. And just do me a favor and shoot me a message, and we'll make sure that we talk with you about that. We'd love to talk with you about that. Any other questions about about the cloud and how it works? Feel free to ask the question. We want you to have a happy cloud environment, and that's our overall objective, is to get you to a place where your agency is functioning at a high level, and that you're avoiding the pitfalls, making sure that your processes are in place in order to be able to fly that. For instance, with Ken, if we could take a look at what it is that the issues are and be able to transition, that would be glad to do that as well. Our contact information, Farida's is here, and this is my number. I'm based here in the D.C. area. Farida's in Michigan, so most of the time I'm spending my time with folks here in the Maryland, D.C., and Virginia area. So if you're around here, I'd love to get together and we could talk about what you're doing. Our general information is here as well. One of the questions, and what vehicles are we on? We have a GSA Schedule 70. That's our primary vehicle. We also have some other contracts that are dedicated for different agencies. Was another question that we had. So we'll send you information on that as well. Some of the links that we're going to send out will include Executive Order 13541, as well as the plan from OPM and the CIO strategic plan, so that you can get an idea of how these initiatives are and why these initiatives are coming down, as well as the FedRAMP and supporting information. So if you need to know what they're asking for, there's 295 different checklists, checkboxes that you have to go through for the security components just to get your initial authority to operate or preliminary authority to operate. So we highly encourage you to do that. And yes, we will be sending out the presentation as part of this too. 1 second. Let's see whatever we have here. I think that's about it for the moment. I'm glad that everybody came. If you have any additional information, feel free to get in touch with us. We, certainly, a happy Valentine's Day for all the guys that are out there that I probably just reminded that is Valentine's Day tomorrow. We want you to enjoy that as well. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to have a little bit more of an IT-oriented one of these, but this is really for the procurement folks. So if you're interested in that, please contact us. We'd love to have you involved, and you can contact us email or phone. Anything else that you would like to add, Farida, before we leave?
I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining, and again, please feel free to reach out to us.
You bet. Again, thanks so much. We really appreciate you joining us here. Have a great Valentine's Day. Farida, I hope you feel better, and I'm glad that we did this remotely so you're not infecting anybody else. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.